right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up. I have a great episode for you today, but first, as always, let's get through the show notes. If you're not following the Facebook page, head over to Facebook, type SideQuest Fitness into the search bar, and like the page. There, you're going to get updates on podcast episodes, articles when they get posted, and you're going to get a brand new taco recipe every Tuesday for Taco Camp. Plus lots of other shenanigans and nerd talk throughout the week, so make sure you head over to Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is SideQuestFM. If you want to see some cool videos and random stuff on Instagram as well, you can follow me on Instagram. Same handle, SideQuestFM. Or follow me on Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. Send me your questions. I want to get all the questions from you, help you as much as I can on your fitness journey or your journey in life, whatever it may be. But head over to Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. You get a little more personal, in-depth look at the shenanigans I get into throughout every day. But I do love getting questions from the community, so please send them out to me. If you have not left a review for the podcast, please head over to iTunes. If you're not listening on iTunes and you listen on SoundCloud or Stitcher, leave a review there as well. When you leave reviews, it helps me move up the charts on the iTunes store so that more people can see and hear the amazing guests that I've had on and have on each and every single week. So make sure you head over there. And don't forget, if you haven't picked up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss, head over to sidequestfitness.com/7 principles, and you can pick up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss. These are the same 7 principles I follow each and every day and teach my clients to help them shred away more body fat, unlock heroic strength, and just look better naked. So if you want to unlock strength or just look better naked in the mirror, head over again, grab those 7 principles of fat loss, and start following those today. If you're ready to tell a brand new story, a story where you finally achieve your fitness goals, lose the weight you've been trying to lose, gain the muscle you've been trying to gain, and finally feel more confident and look better in the mirror, then I have the opportunity for you. I've had a couple slots open up in my coaching program, and I'm now taking applications to fill those slots. So if you're interested in taking your fitness to the next level and shredding fat, putting on muscle, or just getting stronger, head over to sidequestfitness.com/coach and apply today. Don't wait until January 1st and the new year with everyone else. Start today and start making gains while everyone else is sitting around during the holidays waiting for the new year. In 2016, right? Already heading into 2017 with a kickstart ahead of you. Again, head over to sidequestfitness.com/coach and apply today. Second Monday of the month, guys, and that means Coach's Corner. Tanner Bays, Nick Sorrell, and Adam Ali are back after last month's talk on shenanigans and awkward situations. We decided to get a little more serious, and we're talking about routines, morning routines, and rituals. But we go even deeper than that. There's a lot of really great information in this episode. We talk about things we struggle with. We talk about movements that you see online as well in the world. We talk about diet. And just, there's a lot of really great information in this. So get ready for an episode that is going to inform you about a lot of things, but it's also going to be really, really valuable to you and your goals. So let's get in. I need to shut up. It's time to listen. Tanner Bays, myself, Nick Sorrell, and Adam Ali chat about rituals.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode. It is the second Tuesday in the month, and that is Coach's Corner. Last month, we celebrated the 2-year anniversary of the podcast, so thank you all for listening. I got to thank these guys for being on for the last year or so of Coach's Corner as well, and pushing things and promoting things. And while we're doing Coach's Corner, it's sending giant, stupid messages. But we like having shenanigans. But last month, we talked about all the drunken shenanigans and the weird things that happen in life. This month, we're going to talk about morning routines. It's kind of the big thing. Tim Ferriss asks all his guests, what is your morning routine? Which is funny because Tanner and I were at Man Camp when a certain someone named Schmucker Max said that, some of that shit you hear on that podcast might be a little bullshit. I know for a fact that some of those people don't do those morning routines. They're just answering that question the way they think they're supposed to answer it. But routines are important, especially when you're in the gym getting yourself ready to go, but they're also important for starting your day. So we're going to talk about morning routines. Adam, I'm going to let you start since you're in Britain and it's like 7 p.m. there, so you're getting ready for your evening routine. But what's the first thing you do when you wake up?
Yeah, sweet. So first thing I do is I wake up pretty early, so I'm up like around 4 a.m. And I know Tanner's written about this, which is a brilliant piece on him sort of transitioning to early morning and stuff, and what he's found beneficial from that. And I remember reading that and thinking, yeah, this is 100% how I felt about that whole thing as well. So I wake up, and then the first thing I'll do is just read. So I'll pick up like a philosophy book or not. Well, it tends to generally be something like philosophy based. So something like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, or anything like that really. And then after that, I'll journal. And it's not journaling as in writing or anything, but I'll post about that on my Instagram. I'll just like doodles and sketches, and I'll probably just like listen to some rap music while I'm like just really aggressive, angry rap music at like 5 a.m. While I'm journaling, which surprisingly sets you up pretty well for the day. And then I've been quite bad with this, but when I can bothered, I do about at least 10 minutes of meditation. But
damn, it's a long time.
Yeah, dude, it sucks. Like I haven't done it for a while now, but like in the past I got really into it and it helped a lot in terms of like discipline and all the other things as well, which is good. But yeah, it just takes so much out of you, man. Like I can't sit still for like 10 minutes. So I'm kind of like trying to ease my way back into it now. And then by that time I'll get ready, have like a shower and whatnot. And then leave to go to Starbucks where I do all my writing and stuff. Which takes like a 20-25 minute walk. So I get a bit of that there neat in as well. And then, so I go to Starbucks, I'll write. And then that's when I'll switch off my phone. So I don't have my phone like around me or even on me at this time. It's on on flight mode or what the fuck it's called.
Airplane mode.
That's the one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Flight mode.
Yeah. Dude, well, you guys do call it something different in Britain, right? It's is it flight mode?
Flight mode. No,
Adam's just.
Yeah.
Adam's just making shit up.
Like, this whole thing's a lie. I see.
All right, so you get the Starbucks. All right, so that's sort of your morning routine. I want to get into everyone else, just sort of like the first 60 minutes or so. So, Nick, what's the first 60 minutes of your day look like? We know you wake up at noon randomly in the field, still disoriented from the night before.
Yeah, dude, that's kind of the key. Like, you just get real fucked up, and you see where you wake up, and you use that as inspiration for the day. The first thing I do is I take a massive dump.
I know you're not kidding either.
No, I like to eat breakfast in the morning. I don't know why, but like in the morning when I wake up, like I can't do anything. I can't talk to anybody. Like I just have to like get going. Like I hate talking to people as soon as I wake up.
Agreed.
So I'll kind of cook breakfast and just kind of chill and kind of get my mind going, whether it be drinking coffee and eating eggs, or this morning I had like a huge peanut butter sandwich. It was awesome. I just kind of chill first thing in the morning, just kind of let myself get going naturally. I don't like meditate. Sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I'll read, sometimes I'll do this or that. Sometimes I just check my fantasy football lineup so I can see my winning score against Tanner.
Dude, have I even played you this year?
We just played each other.
Oh.
I beat you by 30.
Fuck off.
Yeah. So I don't really do anything special. I just kind of chill, really, and let myself get going because At first, I used to really believe in like all the morning routines. I think there is a lot of value, but I think it also kind of depends on the person. Like if I try to do something before I'm ready, like I just get frustrated, so I just chill. Really.
All right. So Tanner, what's the first like 60 minutes of your day look like?
So for the past like couple of weeks, it's been a little different, but typically for like the past year to really past 2 years, I get up at 4, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday I'll typically let myself sleep in, which means I'm unless like I've gone out drinking the night before, that means I'm waking up at like 7. I immediately like drink a fat Nalgene water bottle. It's like 32 ounces. I pound that while I'm letting water boil to make coffee. Take Bowser out to let him use the bathroom really fast. Come in, sit down, drink an entire French press worth of coffee and read. And that's like my first hour. Cause a lot like Nick, I despise the idea of having to like get going first thing in the morning. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to like be in a conversation. I don't want to be like on my phone. If I can have that like buffer hour, I'm like good to go for the day. And that makes a huge difference in how like my day goes.
All right. I'll just go over mine real quick, and then I got a question I want to ask on this. So I'm usually I was up at 4, now I'm up at 5:30. But
slacker.
No. I
I'm
was
just busting your balls.
To be honest, I like getting I like 4:30 is a good time because it's still quiet at night. Like you can sit with the windows open and there's no bugs, there's no birds, there's no anything. So it's like really nice and peaceful. It's a great way to sort of start the day. But I've started doing morning journaling. I forgot while I was in Texas because I was just too tired. So it took me about 2 weeks to get back on that. But just doing 3 pages, that's something in The Artist Way, which is a great book for any creatives that are listening when you get stuck. The Artist Way. So 3 pages in the morning, whatever rambles, whatever comes out gets down. Then I drink my coffee while I'm doing that, finish my coffee while I read. And then I usually come in and start working on something. The mornings is like, I've noticed I'm really good at writing in the morning before I go to the gym. Then I come back and do some like stuff like answer emails with clients, do some programming, then go train some clients in person. And then like the middle of the day, my brain's like, yeah, you can just go fuck yourself. But like 5 or 6 p.m., like my second wave comes in. But that's my first hour, basically just reading, coffee, and a little bit of writing.
So what do you do in the middle of the day whenever your brain says go fuck you?
I either go back to reading or take a walk, or I get sucked into a Facebook message group with you 3 douche knockers. Usually just a walk, or if my wife is home, I'm hanging out with her or something.
I like to think that I'm pretty stimulating, so talking to me would be a good way to get your brain back.
Yeah, usually not with us 3. It usually is pretty stimulating.
Yeah,
but
I meant stimulating in the sexual sense, but like whatever.
Oh, well, it's that new haircut, dude. That new haircut, it's so sleek. So here was my morning routine in high school, and this is where I want to go with the question. My morning routine in high school. Also, I'm like Nick. I like to eat breakfast now, so I have breakfast within the first 60, 75 minutes. Yeah. So in high school, I got up like maybe an hour and a half before I had to like leave for school. So like 6:30.
You're one of those freaks.
Dude, I also lived 25 minutes from my high school, so like it took me almost half an hour to get there. So I would get up. Did I what?
Did you not ride the bus in high school and stuff?
No, I had a car.
What?
Yeah, I had a car in high school.
I was talking like junior and senior year.
No, I had a car. Well, why would I ride the bus? When I've got a 1995 Mustang convertible.
You had a car your freshman year of high school?
No. Oh, freshman and sophomore year? No, freshman and sophomore year I rode the bus, but I rode the bus to where my mom worked, which was closer to the high school. So, yeah. So I used to get up get a shower, get breakfast, usually a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then I would sit there and watch SportsCenter. That was my morning. I caught up on sports, caught up on the news, and I don't watch SportsCenter anymore. So what was your morning routine like a few years ago or even in high school, and what was your first step? What was the first real thing you changed?
Dude, honestly, like I was so not disciplined until a few years ago. Like I was terrible. I remember I was a kid who'd wake up like 10 minutes before school was supposed to start, and just be like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna be late again!" And yeah. So I honestly had literally no morning routine apart from like the weekends when there'd be like cartoons and shit on. Then I'll be up like 7 a.m. But yeah, I'd honestly until recently, not recently, until a few years back, when I dropped out of uni, I had to get a job. I started working in the fitness industry, and you obviously as a PT, you had to be up quite early. Then I knew that I had to, I couldn't be a YOLO anymore. So I had to get disciplined on my shit. So yeah, that's my answer.
All right.
So like, I remember in high school, this is like kind of like an aside, but like, you know how like a lot of times like overweight people don't really understand why they're overweight, or they lose weight and they look back and they're like, man, I don't really know what was going on or why I got so fat or blah, blah, blah. I remember in high school or just growing up, one of the things I would do every single morning is I'd wake up and I'd eat cereal and watch cartoons. And every single day, while I was watching cartoons, I would eat like 3, 4, 5 bowls of cereal.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
nice.
So this is like a thing. Like I remember like growing up, like I thought every time I ate, I had to eat till I was stuffed. Like I thought that was just how it worked, and like I didn't know how like flawed that logic was until I had changed my body and stuff. So that's just like a random little weird thing that I used to do. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd eat a fuck ton of cereal. I'd watch cartoons or watch SportsCenter, or, whatever age specific thing I was watching. And then I'd go to school. I didn't wake up super early. Like I'd wake up, get dressed, eat my half a box of cereal, and I'd show up to school like right as the bell was ringing. So that was kind of just my routine. It's kind of weird looking back at that.
Dude, mine really is for high school depended on like what season we were in, because the school I went to was so small that like there literally may have been like 3 weeks out of the entire school year in which I didn't have a sport that was like taking place. So like for football and basketball season, like I had to get to school like much earlier than everybody else. Because like basketball, even like there were like for 3 years we had practice at like that started at like 6:30 in the morning. And so like that really like dictated like what I was doing in the mornings, because if I had to be at school like by 6:30 or whatever, like I was up and I would eat like a Nutri-Grain cereal bar or something like that, and maybe like a glass of milk, and then be out the door and on my way. College was way different because I was very, very disciplined about that stuff in high school. College, it was just like, it was a stimulus overload, and I was like out all the time. And then it became like a very big realization. Like I crave that discipline. So that, like being able to get back into that and like forcing yourself to get up super early has been a very good thing for me.
So speaking of discipline, because really morning routines is just discipline. It's disciplining yourself to follow the same thing. And what's so surprising about like when you mention a morning routine, and a lot of people are like, oh God, I mean, I have to get up early. I have to do this. I have to do the same thing every day. Well, yeah, you probably eat the same breakfast every day. So why is it such a big thing to do the same thing every morning?
Right.
So that's like,
go ahead, Nick.
Like people get so afraid of like a standardized schedule of any sort. So like, yeah, like, and it's crazy actually. Cause like, so a lot of people like, you'll hear it a lot with nutrition. Like they're like, man, I just don't want to eat the same thing every day. And it's crazy to me because like whenever I'm doing my best nutritionally, like I eat the same shit every single day within reason. Now every now and then I may change stuff around, but I've always thought that was so crazy because like so many people are so afraid of having like some sort of routine, but I don't really.
But it's more like it's because you're told that. It's because you're told like, I want you to eat the same thing every day instead of like stumbling upon that yourself and realizing like, oh, like I have a go-to, like if I am eating breakfast, I have a go-to breakfast that I make. Right. And it's the same fucking thing every single day.
Yeah.
But even the act of somebody telling me like, I need you to eat this every single day, I'd be a little bit like, man, do you really need to like put that on me?
Flaw in like meal plans and shit like that, but like as far as like I feel like there probably is like a self-discovery type thing to it, you know.
You know what? When I have a new client and I tell them, listen, you have to have some structure and regimentation to your day. Like you can't just be going about your day and just expecting things to work out. Like there's gonna be too many temptations, too many distractions that are gonna come up, and you're gonna be, you know, overwhelmed with all the choices you're gonna have. So, and then always like, oh, but I can't fathom myself eating the same thing. I'm like, cool. What I want you to do is just keep a food journal or, you know, track your day for like 2-3 days and, you know, we'll see what happens. And they'll do it. And then they realize that for breakfast, they're eating 1 or 2 similar cereals or things every day. For lunch, they're having the same thing because they're rushing to work. They need to have a quick lunch and get back. So they're automatically eating the same thing every day. You know, when they go to Starbucks, they're picking up the same thing before work, whatever the coffee may be, right? And then maybe there's a bit more of a variation in dinner because it tends to be the meal they have with their family, the kids, etc., or when they go out. But that's the common thing I see. And then I think once you can visually show them or like get them to actually experience it and be like, hey, look, there's nothing to worry about because I'm not telling you to drastically change anything. You're eating the same things. You're basically doing what you're doing now. Just we're going to add a bit more regimentation to it. And I found that to work really well because it's not like you're telling them, like, it's not like you're saying, look, you have to do this. It's more like, hey, look, you already are doing this, but it's just that realization of them realizing that they're doing it because there's a tendency to not notice these things.
That's actually pretty fascinating because like right now I'm not tracking anything. I'm just eating pretty much as I want, like feeling full most of the time and stuff. And even now, like I eat the same shit every single day.
Yeah,
even though whatever, like I don't care right now. But even despite that, I'm still having like a certain schedule. So that's actually really interesting, Adam.
Because I mean, humans are just creatures of habit, right?
Well, we're all creatures of habit. Yeah, it's homeostasis.
Exactly. So it's like when people say, you know, it's like the reason why you're overweight right now, or the reason why you're unfit right now, is because you're stuck in homeostasis. So you know, it's like the reason you're here right now is because you've constructed certain habits over a certain period of time that aren't conducive to your health, your fitness, whatever. So the whole fat loss journey or the muscle gain journey, wherever your goals are, it's a case of us changing those habits and inserting new habits so that they're more conducive to your goal, basically, right? And I think people don't realize that because they're sold this whole thing of like, moderation and balance and all this stuff. But, and a lot of people get their freaking panties in a twist when you say this to them. But it's like, look, you didn't get overweight through being moderate, right? You don't,
yeah.
It's like, you don't get, you don't get to where you are right now because you are being moderate. So it's going to take you a bit of, being unbalanced and being a bit extreme to make a change, because for change to occur, for you to break that inertia that that person's stuck in, of the bad habits of whatever the case is, it's going to take some amount of effort, like a lot of effort, depending on the person and where they are and how much weight they have to lose to make that change and to instill new habits. So I think people need to move away from this idea of moderation and balance and all this other stuff, because it doesn't exist, man. It's like, that's just, again, like I said, people get their panties in a twist, and when people listen to this, if we're going to want to hunt me down and kill me or whatever, but hey, whatever.
But you make a really good point. So I'm going to bring this up How many times, and we've all done it as a kid, were you on like a balance board or something you were trying to balance on? Maybe even like a seesaw with a friend. Like once you hit that middle and you find that balance, one of you there's still deviations. Like you're still going up and down, or like even if you're doing it with both your feet, you're sort of like moving left to right and then right to, and you're still trying to find balance, but you're moving in between. Like that's a very good point that. You're going to have off days. You're going to go to extremes, and you're going to waffle in between. Like some days you might have more, some days you might have less. Same thing with burning calories. You might burn more calories one day, you might burn less. But it's
that's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah,
no, it's a process, and we just talked about it, like being real, like for real, like I'm so positive and I'm balanced. Bullshit. Like.
Yeah,
I
dude,
want to know that
man.
someone has great days and bad days. I want to know that, like, I've admitted this on the podcast recently that, like, I still sort of struggle with some food things, like mentally, and I'm trying to find a balance and a equilibrium with that. And I know there's going to be days where I'm like, oh yeah, I just ate like 3,000 calories, whatever, who cares? And then there's going to be days where I'm like, oh yeah, oops. Like, right. I'm gonna feel some sort of shame or guilt about it. Like, it's gonna happen.
Dude, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing, bro. It's like everyone is all up in like this whole positivity. And don't get me wrong, it's not positive. Being positive is a good thing. Like, you shouldn't become nihilistic and just think there's no, there's no meaning to anything. Like, just become like this, fatalistic person. But at the same time, trying to be excessively and most importantly, just pseudo positive, like. As we were talking before the podcast started, like Mark Manson says in his new book, people act as if like they just put their fingers in there and just like block out any negativity. But again, to quote Mark Manson, as he said in the book, negative emotions are essentially a call to action. They're telling you, look, you're discontent with something or something's causing you pain. You need to go out and change it. Right. And the more you try to be like, hey, look, everything's beautiful. Like, there's that meme where there's that dog sitting in the house burning down and it's like, everything's fine, I'm fine. That's basically what these people are like. Like, hey, look, everything's fucking crushing down behind me.
How is it that you mentioned him? Go ahead, sorry.
But that's basically that's what it reminds me of. When I see people who I know, like other coaches who I have a relationship with in terms of like being friends with them, and I know they're going through some stuff in their life and whatnot, and it's like, cool, you don't have to plaster your life on Facebook, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with you embracing that negative emotion and being like just running with it, embracing it, because that's going to be more beneficial than being like that dog in a burning house, just pretending like everything's cool.
Dude, that's like, so you see it all the time, like on social media and stuff, like, or just in the media in general, like the whole, this sounds like mean, but like the whole like bad is beautiful type thing, like,
oh man.
And like, I don't want to like judge those people or anything like that just because it's politically correct, but like the only reason they're saying that is because they're actually not happy with it. Like, if you were actually happy about being fat, you wouldn't.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna go on a tangent now because I was thinking about this and I was gonna post about this on Facebook, right? And but this whole like this fat acceptance, this body positivity movement, right? So look, I get it. I'm not the sort of person who, I also hate those people who fat shame.
Yeah.
Like, but because they do it in a way that's trying to bring the other person down. I don't like that. It's not cool. But at the same time, this whole movement of like people being like, hey, look, you should accept me for being overweight or whatever the case is. It's like, no, the fact that you need approval from other people is in complete contradiction to you accepting anything, accepting your body even. The fact that you have to be so vocal about it. If you were actually content, you wouldn't need to start some movement to try and make other people accept it. So yeah, I mean, it's like those are things where it's like, it's not so much that, like, when people talk about fat acceptance, it's like, it's not about what you look like. It's about the fact that you're spreading a message of it's cool to be unhealthy, right? In a time when obesity is on the rise, it's like becoming one of the number one killers now. Which, if you stop and think about that, it's pretty crazy, seeing the fact that it's almost overtaking things like cancer.
Well, it has overtaken starvation.
Right. There you go.
Did that out the other day to, I think it was us in our Facebook group, like that I don't know, obesity kills more people than like starvation.
Yeah, you're more likely to die from obesity today
like
than starvation, which is
like
insane.
some people. It's so crazy.
So it's like when people say, yeah.
There's a lot to go on that, and yeah, I don't know. We were going to talk about morning routines, but it's a very good.
Yes,
Because it's a very good question, because I think you bring up a lot of points that I think it comes down to this, because we sort of been talking about with routines is like finding what works for you. Like Tanner was like, oh shit, I had so much stuff to do in college, and like I could sleep in, I didn't have class until 11, I could party till like 2 a.m. So you lose your morning routine. 4 a.m, like whatever. Which is funny. He partied and now he gets up at 4. But you're trying to find something that works for you, and I think that's one of the things that like sort of irks me a little about that, is that you're right. Like you shouldn't need other people's approval. Like you've got to find your own happiness, and sometimes it's a hard road and it's not easy. But we're all trying to discover ourselves and what works for us.
But what's interesting to me that I think that you could like really dig into with people here is that like, show me your routines and I will, like, without even being able to look at you, I will probably be able to tell you what you look like, and not only what you look like, but how well you're doing in life.
Oh, for sure.
Like, and honestly, like, people just don't think of it that way. Like, it's just, you just don't think
one thing they're going to skip over is how much they check.
Everybody knows. Do what?
Well, if you threw in, like, if you think about the routine, most people will be like, oh, I wake up in the morning, I wake up like an hour before work, I get my kids ready, I do this, like I eat breakfast, and then I do this, and I have like a snack, and I do work, and I do this. But people forget the small little things in the day. Like, there are other routines, like, that's what I was saying, is that there are other routines that, affect our overall, we get absorbed in the political debates on Facebook, or we get absorbed into BS conversations, and all of this upsets our routines.
Me and Tanner were talking about this in our convo. I mean, just a few days back, and there was two things I was going to say. One was that basically what you said, Robbie, is excellent. That if you don't have a set structure on something, you're so much more likely to be taken off on a tangent. Oh, there's like a pointless Facebook debate that's popped up, and you just feel like the need to engage in it, or something else has popped up that's not really you don't really need to get involved in it, but because you don't really have a plan, you're just going to do it now. And secondly, I think what me and Tanner were talking about was when people think they need to do things just because. So it's like they don't really you don't really stop and think about why you're doing certain habits, or whatever the case may be, but it's like, hey, I'm just going to do it just because. Like the example I gave was my client who emailed me and said, oh, I'm going to do an eating challenge, and I was like, no, you're not going to do an eating challenge, because is it really conducive to your goal right now? And then when I said that to him, he was like, oh yeah, I totally zoned out, I didn't think about it. And I was like, exactly. And I think people do that, and I think having some structure and being like, hey, look, I'm going to be dieting for the next 3, 6, whatever months. And I'm going to be super disciplined. I'm going to be structured. I'm going to be, I'm not saying you're going to be perfect, because it takes time for these things to get instilled. But just setting the intention is going to be so powerful, because you're going to be one step ahead of avoiding all these little insignificant things that aren't actually adding anything to your life, or to your goals even, taking you away from that. So, yeah.
Well, and so Craig Ballantine mentioned this when I had him on the show, that and he mentions this in his book, we're all afraid of rules. Like, we want freedom to have the ability to do whatever we want to do and be like, woo, I can do all of this. But actually having some rules and some structure actually provides you a lot more freedom. It sounds counterintuitive, but we're talking about morning routines, and we're like, look, we have the freedom to get up and read first thing in the morning. I'm not stressed about getting someone ready. I'm not stressed about going to work. I'm not stressed. I'm get up, I read, I do my thing, because that is important to me. And taking that first thing in your day and making it the most, whatever's the most important to you, do it the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I wrote this in an article once where I said that, look, this whole idea of freedom, excessive freedom, is nothing more than anarchy. Because if there were no rules, if you look at society, if there was no rules that we had to live by, it would be anarchy, because people would, that film Purge, where people just go around killing everyone and shit. Yeah. That's basically what would happen if there were no rules. So when people talk about flexibility and freedom, yeah, sure, you need to have rules, systems, regimentation in place within the overarching theme of freedom per se. And, if you have too much flexibility, that's not freedom, that's anarchy. And I think that's what people forget.
I think that, like, moderation and flexibility, I think that leads to more like eating disorders than strict dieting does.
Yeah.
Like, just
I mean,
like, because
that's Tanner's face like, whoa.
Well, let me tell you.
Like I'm in total agreement, but like, I guess I hadn't thought of it or like thought of putting it that way, and so my initial thought was Nick fucking coming in with the hot take.
Yeah, no, I 100%. Well, I 100% agree.
It goes, dude. People that say that like strict dieting and shit like that leads to eating disorders like that or causes, that's like not even sort of true. That's bullshit 100% of the time. Or at least 99%, I guess. Because a lot of people that suffer from like eating disorders also are people that like self-justify things, right? That's why they have an eating disorder in the first place, because they self-justify those acts in pursuit of like a larger goal.
Right.
So a lot of these people self-justify things. So people with freedom, they'll self-justify a piece of chocolate. And then they'll self-justify this, and they'll self-justify that. And before they know it, they're way off a bender, and snap, that's when an eating disorder hits, whenever you've gone so far, right? Strict dieting doesn't necessarily always work like that. Or not I guess strict maybe isn't even the right word, but like stuff with just like regimentation, like Adam was talking about.
Yeah, dude, I mean, just to sort of add to that, Nick, I mean, I've spoken with previously about like how people just, like people will justify the small things, and eventually those small justifications become small fuck ups you have, and you justify like, oh, well, it's only 100 calories. I've got like another 200 calories left for the day, what the case is. But then eventually those small fuck ups, because you keep trying to justify it to yourself, they become a bad habit, because now every time that you overeat, you're like, oh, well, whatever. But then eventually it gets to a point where you sort of justify it in a way where it becomes more nefarious. So it's like, I overeat by 1,000 calories. Oh, whatever, I'll just fast the whole day on Sunday or whatever the case is. And it becomes worse. Whereas if it's like, okay, look, I overeat by 2,000 calories or 1,000 calories, that's it, it's done. And now let me get back on plan.
Dude, like anytime you start self-justifying, it becomes easier to do it the next time. Like
sure, yeah.
College, like you don't want to miss a class until the first time you self-justify it, like, man, I'm just too tired, and you allow yourself to miss it. And then the next time that time happens, it's so much easier to miss the next class. And that's how it is with anything. Like, the first time you break your diet or whatever, you self-justify too much, like, it's a little bit hard. But then every time after that, it's, like, progressively easier because you're building momentum in a negative capacity, which is just what you guys were talking about earlier. So, like, flexibility and moderation and all that stuff, like, sounds cool. But I really think that's more of, like, a form of mastery. Like, people that are really in tune with themselves or really know what they're doing, they can flex that intermittently. But even those people, I think, still get strict at times.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, I could never get dialed down to, like, a photo shoot condition or super lean without counting calories. Right. I know some people possibly could. Well, they're fucking heroes because I can't. I need to have really, really solid rules. But what people forget is that life is it's like everything's a fluctuation.
Well,
like,
one thing people forget, Adam, real quick, is you just mentioned getting down to like being really lean. Some people don't that's not what they want. Like, they want to look better naked, but like it's entirely possible for them. Like, one of my clients has lost 6 inches off her waist. She's not counted a single calorie. She's used my point system, and like in 5 months lost 6 inches because it prioritizes protein and green veggies, which we all preach. Like, it's entirely possible, and she probably doesn't want to look like a bodybuilder or like
100%
a bikini model. Like, that's not what she's going for.
And I think this is why I love that article that Tanner wrote yesterday or the day before, where he told because I think people when we think of someone who's in shape, when people think of someone being in shape, there's a tendency to think of people like on Men's Health and just super shredded. But you have to understand, these people went through a solid, coming from someone who has gone through that and goes through that every year. Fuck you, Tanner. So it's like you can actually get 10% to 12% and get fairly lean following certain rules. Like Robbie said, getting in protein at every meal, prioritizing vegetables and fruits, even things like intermittent fasting. The reason why intermittent fasting works so well, it's not because it's some voodoo magic, super secret 9,000 fat loss, from the primordial eras, whatever, right? It's just the fact that it gives people set rules. And look, I've got an 8-hour eating window. I'm going to stop eating at 7 p.m. I'm not going to eat till tomorrow till 12 p.m. It makes everyone's life easier because you're not stressing over timing and all this nonsense. It's like, all right, cool. I'm going to break my fast at 12 p.m. I'm going to have my first meal at, say, 12. And then I'm going to have my second meal at 3 p.m. Then I'm going to have my dinner at 7 p.m. Then I'm going to repeat the whole process over and over again. Now we've just made the whole process so much easier. Mm-hmm. So it's like, so it's like, and so I think a lot of times what happens is, people get stuck in, especially I think a lot of Facebook coaches, like who spend hours debating on Facebook, they get stuck in like all these nuances. Facebook coaches.
I love it.
The guys that don't actually have real clients and like just fucking reading PubMed all day. But yeah, as I was saying, so I think they get caught in like the shit that doesn't really matter. Like, oh, you have to do like 3 to 4 protein pulses a day. No, go fuck yourself. If I want to have 2 protein feedings a day, I'm going to fucking eat 2 protein feedings a day. I don't care if I'm going to get a 0.001% protein synthesis benefit. That's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm getting angry now. But yeah.
Well, again, it comes down, like Nick said earlier, like 99%. Like for 99% of the people, like they don't care about all that minutia. And like, yes, it's cool and it's fun to learn about, but to be honest, I see those posts now on Facebook and I skip them. Not because I don't care, and I'm sure there's a lot I could take from it and a lot I can learn, but for the most part, like my clients just want to look better naked. They want to be better parents. They want, like one of my guys said, look, I just want to be a good example for my son. I want to be strong. I want to get rid of a little bit of my dad bod. If they come to me and they're like, dude, I want to get ripped, cool, then here's what we got to do to get ripped. But for the most part, you want to be leaner, stronger, and look better naked, I'm not going to, like, throw a bunch of calories at you that you have to do. Like, there are ways to do it, but you've got to find your own rules. And there's been a lot going on in my head as we've talked about this, because I'm watching my wife go through her own sort of hero's journey with intuitive eating. And I thought about this yesterday morning, and I'm going to work on a post for this, but like I was a little like curious about what intuitive eating sort of was, and I've watched her go through it and I've read a little bit about it, but it's basically a way for you to find the rules that work for you. So the rest of the world is telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you feel all this pressure, but intuitive eating is sort of like, I'm going to find my own way. I want to find what works for me. And I think we've all done that through nutrition and through exercise. Like, if you love to run. If you hate lifting weights, like we love it. But if it works for you and it brings you joy, do it. But it's finding what works and then staying within those boundaries and creating your own values.
Oh, dude, that's epic, man. I love that. The whole intuitive eating isn't, listening to your body per se. It's more so finding what works for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant, man.
I think that's like big problem with like, so I got like, precision nutrition made like the whole habit-based coaching thing real popular, right? I think a lot of people miss the bus there because like the habits or the rules that they put in place aren't even rules to begin with. So it's just like, eat breakfast and then try to eat healthy the rest of the day or something like that. And then it just leaves so much like gray space for to like make bad decisions and everything like that. So like, I think like you don't even have to have people counting calories, even though that's what I do with my clients. It's just that, like you guys said, and I guess I'm just like re-harping on it. It's just you have to have some kind of steadfast, specific rule, like regimentation or whatever, because a lot of people don't actually put that in there. And even when they think they are, they're not. It's like just eating healthy or whatever, or eating clean. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. Just you have to be specific with any of this stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like when we talk about healthy eating, it's like, what exactly is healthy eating? And I've been wanting to talk about a post on this for a long time now because, sure, we've got a certain definition of what it is. But if you look at the root of what healthy eating is, it's like, yeah, just eat healthy and exercise. But it's like, that's just a marketing term because it's like, it's such a, it's like, what exactly is healthy eating? Because if healthy
I don't know. I think people more or less implicitly understand that, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that people like struggle to know like like people are not going to look at fucking Pop-Tarts and be like, yeah, that's really healthy for me because it was supplied with vitamins. Like, if given the choice, you're absolutely going to know implicitly that like having an egg white omelet with fruit is far better for you than having a nutrition bar for breakfast.
Yeah. Right. I love that this whole thing is really what we've talked about routines and we talked about rules, but really rules are routines for your life.
Sure. Yeah. That's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. And I did a podcast on it once. I wrote a post about the 9 rules that I live my life by. And they're not, sometimes they get a little flexed occasionally on things, but they're routines because they're routines that I know if I drink caffeine past 3 p.m., like it's really hard for me to turn down a really good coffee stout at a bar at night because I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I know even just a little bit, like my body is used to caffeine, but I know it will keep me up later. And if I drink caffeine past 3 p.m., I won't sleep. Like, I don't sleep well. And I don't like waking up the next day feeling like dog shit. I want to sleep well. But, those are routines we sort of have to get ourselves into. But here's my biggest problem in life, and this is my biggest failure, and my wife, Hannah, has laughed her ass off when I have admitted this as one of my weaknesses because she sees it all the time, and I know Tanner's probably going to laugh because he's probably seen it before. When something fucks up my routine, I turn into an angsty teenager. Like, if my routine
I'm the same. Dude, I'm the same. I'm the same.
If something fucks with my and it happened in Austin, and I if anyone is listening from this, I was tired. I was already exhausted from man camp, and everyone's like fucking with my routine. I'm like, God damn it, I just want to go home. Ah.
Dude, I'm 100% the same way. 100% the same way.
So what are the things that what are the things that really fuck up your routine? Like, do they happen all the time, or is it just what could really set you off?
Yeah, like you said, like some days when I come off a routine, so I may stay up later. Like even the past few days where I've got food poisoning and I haven't been sleeping properly and like my timing's been off, like I haven't been able to write or anything or do any work because I've just been dying. Those sort of things. But I think what I've realized looking back in retrospect now, 99% of the time it's my own fault. It's times when I had the choice to not do something because I knew that, for example, like if I was to do, stay up late tonight, it's Friday, cool. It's not a big deal. But if it's a Monday, that's a different story because I know that it's setting my whole week up on the back foot now. Because if I wake up late on a Monday and then I'm in this pissed off mood where I'm not going to get work done because I'm just off routine and whatnot, then it sets up the mood for the whole week. Whereas I know if I start Monday on the front foot, I'm up early, I've got my reading done, I've done my journaling, I've meditated a little bit, and I've had an awesome writing session, or I've just managed to write. Some days is a struggle, more days than some actually, but then the whole week is like you're mentally ready to go. But yeah, I think the main thing that really throws me off is when I've come off routine through temptation. And again, I think one point I just want to make on that is that there's nothing wrong with breaking routine. I encourage you to break your routine, but you also need to have the Tanner, when I said to you about the broccoli and the cookie conundrum.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
if the broccoli is like the metaphor for all the things that you have to do that you don't want to do, the things that suck, but they can help you improve. And then the cookie is like the immediate gratification. It's the stuff that feels good, it tastes good, but it probably isn't good for you in the long run. So I see life as in the people that get shit done are the people who have eaten more broccoli than cookies, right? So their broccoli to cookie ratio is, it tends to err to more towards more broccoli. So I think that's the way it should be. You should eat more broccoli, and then as a sort of, as a reward for that, you have a few bits of cookie. And I think what most people do is they're constantly eating the cookies, like the immediate gratification, and they tend to not want to eat the broccoli. So yeah, I don't know. I've went on a tangent, but yeah.
Yeah, you like branched way off from the original. Dude, so the thing that like really fucks with my routines is traveling. Like, really, impacts my my routine. Like I even said this in the group message. Like I fall victim to like, oh, it's a special day, it's a special occasion. Like I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat this, or I'm going to act this way. That happens to me like whenever I'm traveling quite a bit. But like, I think that, or it also happens whenever people are in town. So like Robbie, you and Katie were in town. Like obviously I'm not going to start my mornings like the way that I normally would, because there are people in my place. And
I mean, I would have been okay with you being like, get the fuck up off my couch.
Well, yeah, but like, I'm sure you would have, but like, I'm just not going to do that, you know, like, but I think the real value in that, like for people that are listening, is that like you may not realize like what your routine is, like what makes you comfortable and what makes you feel happy and like productive, until like something interrupts that and you find yourself craving the desire to get back, you know?
Well, think about it. Like you drive to work and like they're doing construction the normal way you go, and you're like, God damn it, fucking traffic, fuck this, fuck that, and you're all pissed off because the normal way you go, your normal routine, is blocked by something else.
Right.
It's really not that big of a deal. Like if I think about it, it's not a huge deal that this thing comes up or that travel interrupts or this, like it's not a huge deal, but it is so interesting as humans, as animals, we want this routine, we get into it, and then when something fucks it up, I turn into an angsty teenager. Like I should be a little more stoic and be like, I can't control it. I'm cool. I'm good to go. But it's something I got to work on. Nick, is there anything, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything for you that really screws up your routine?
Dude, it's like whenever people ask me to go out or something like that.
I'm the same way, Nick. This fucking happened to me on Tuesday night. So yeah, I totally get you.
Yeah, dude, because like I want to go out, I like to party, I like to drink, blah blah blah. But like, dude, it always ends the same way. Like I'm out till like 5 or 6, then I wake up and then like yeah. Well, not even that. That was okay because I got up like. And I had to do something, you know, like I had to hustle home, talk to you fuckers. And then, but no, like just typically, like, I guess I'm at the age now where hangovers aren't a myth anymore. Like they're actually real. Yeah. So like, and I don't like, we were just talking about the downfall of moderation, and I flex that in my drinking life. No moderation. I go all in. So like the next day I wake up just feeling awful. I wake up late. Like, I'm feeling pissed off because I stayed out so late and I fucked up my schedule, and because I feel like that and I'm already behind, like it just ruins my week. So a lot of times it's just people like whenever people ask me to go out, because they're like, I don't know, and they're like, come on, man, do it, and I'm like, fuck, okay, it's Wednesday.
You know, maybe you've noticed this as well, Nick, because obviously like you and I we like to fucking drink, like drink to excess. But like I have noticed, like not only are hangovers no longer a myth, but like you can't like really predict like when you're going to be hungover as fuck. But even if you're not like hungover, I have noticed now that if I'm like, I am buying the next day's time if I go out that night, because mentally I'm fucked the next day. Like I can't get shit done. I can't like. The only thing you can really ask me to do is like maybe respond to some emails and read, and like that's about like my creativity is shot. My ability to like do anything productive whatsoever is done.
Yeah, like it just fucks you up. Like you don't even want to talk to people. Like, right. I don't even want to take a shower the next day. Like I'm just done. Right, and so like now it is actually like become this thing like, okay, am I willing to sacrifice like my productivity tomorrow? Like, do I feel like I got enough done today to sacrifice like what I wanted to get done tomorrow in order so I can go out tonight?
Like, in the words of Mark Manson, I was thinking this as you said it, is we all struggle with routine and then getting out of our routine. And really when it comes to health and fitness, you're trying to establish a new routine. So you're trying to break the old so that you can bring in the new. And Tanner, you're really asking yourself, what are you willing to struggle for?
Right.
Are you willing to struggle with knowing that you're going to go out tonight and you're going to party, but the next day you're going to struggle to be creative, right? Do anything.
Right. And, so like we talked about like justifications and like how we justified this shit and whatnot, or like how people justify things. This is a really interesting insight and for you guys and for anybody listening into how I justify this. Like I legitimately oftentimes, especially when traveling, like Robbie, like if we're in New York or Austin or whatever, like I'm out every single night and it's on purpose. And I do that like in Atlanta as well. And the entire justification is, well, I want to live an interesting life. Like I might find myself in the middle of some ridiculous story. And that to me is like, that's worth it. So like, I'm willing to like struggle with my creativity the next day, knowing that I might like have this outstanding fucking story as a result.
Ditto.
Yeah, that happened with me and you and Roman and JC Dean. Like, I had a great conversation with JC, and now know that I have to go to do we had a great time.
See, I think the thing with that is though, it's like how often are you going to do that though? I mean, that's like not going to happen every day, right? So I think in that case, it's justified in my opinion. So it's like, well, but I mean, generally speaking, like you're not going to be doing some crazy shit every single day, right? So it's like in the grand scale of things, it's kind of like you've earned your cookie now after eating like months worth of broccoli, right? Exactly. So it's like that's cool.
You're 100% right.
But to bring it, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I want to bring it back because just a minute ago you said something about like when we come off of that routine and we make those negative choices and it puts us into, so how do you get back? How do you get back on the routine? If Tanner's out partying every night, like what's going to stop him from coming back to Atlanta to be like, let's continue the streak? And then next thing you know, 2 months later,
it's just, again, I think it's one of those things where you have to be able to check yourself. Like a lot of the time you hear people calling other people out. I think people need to learn to call themselves out on their own bullshit. So I think, it's the same thing where this is when it comes to having, hard and fast rules. So when you know that, you've got a job to do or you have to do something and you come off that routine, you have to be able to say, okay, look, I've come off my routine now. I've enjoyed myself. I've done whatever. I fucked up. It's time for me to get back into the flow of things. So, for example, to use myself as an example, the days that how I circumvent it becoming like a cycle is, say for example, I wake up on Monday and I woke up late, and then my whole writing process or whatever's been thrown off, I'll kind of just it's very hard and I still struggle with it, but I'm getting better. I'll sort of just remind myself, okay, look, you know what? If I try and fight it now, it's just going to make it worse because I'm going to try and be creative and I'm just going to get more frustrated. So I'm just going to call this day off as like, it's just written off. And I'm just going to chill out and do something which is not work related. But then by the evening, I jump right back into my evening routine so that I'm setting myself up perfectly for the next day. So that's the way I see it. I think the more you try and fight against it, the worse it becomes. So if I'm like, no, I have to write 500 words today because that's what I told myself, right? And then I try and write, but then I'm not happy with what I've written. I'm just going to become more frustrated, and it's very easy for it to become self-deprecating. Whereas if I'm just like, hey, look, it's happened, cool, just chill out for today. But then by the time it comes down to like, say, the evening, I have to get into bed early or whatever the case is, start doing my evening routine so that I set myself up for a win the next day.
Yeah, I think that's like important, is just jumping back in it. Like you hear it all the time, like people are like, they talk about like wanting to start a diet, and it'll be like, say it's like Sunday, and they're like, well, Sunday afternoon, they're like, well, I want to start a diet, but I'm going to start tomorrow morning, start on Monday, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's like, it's almost good just to like, as soon as you feel that urge, just to start right then, whether it's the last meal of the day or whatever, like just whatever urge you're feeling, grab a hold of that immediately, because the chances are you're not going to be feeling that urge 24 hours from now, at least like as strongly. So like and that's a big thing. Like once you go off a bender or you fall off track or whatever, like there is no secret. Like you literally just have to jump back on.
Yeah.
like, and usually when you're thinking about it is the best time to, as opposed to like the next day or the next week or whatever. As soon as you feel that urge, jump back on, because that's when it's going to be the easiest.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
that's not what you get told, right? You're supposed to start on Monday. You're supposed to start the next day. You're supposed to start whatever. Like, oh, it's pointless. Like, I've already messed up today. Like, why would I just eat one healthy dinner? Like, because you're feeling it now. Like, just jump back in.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Adam kind of, most people would be like, oh, well, and Nick is a good point. They'd be like, oh, well, today's a loss. I'm just going to write it off. But you're like, even Adam said, look, I can write off the morning, but I'm still going to get into my evening routine. So your body's like, all right, we know what to do. We're doing the same thing that we've always done. Like the morning was fucked up, but I'm in the evening. So finding some small way, even if breakfast and lunch were shitty and like getting back on it for dinner, cool. If breakfast and lunch were great and dinner was shitty, wake up the next morning and have a good breakfast. Have your normal breakfast.
Right.
Those small, sort of steps.
Yeah, I think people have like a tendency to really magnify the negatives and really downplay the positives. And what I mean by that is like, as using your example, Robbie, if someone has, say, they had a really good breakfast and lunch, and then they totally went nuts on the dinner, they totally forget that. Yeah, sure. They, if they track the calories they ate, whatever, they maybe went over, say, 1,000, 2,000 calories, but they had a good breakfast and a good lunch. The positive, the net positive of that day, still, in my opinion, outweighs the net negative of just them eating a bad dinner, right? And if they just jumped back onto it the next day, they're going to be fine, because you don't just gain fat overnight. Sure, it'll set you back, say, a day, whatever, right? But it's no big deal. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. And what's worse is how they react to it. So, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to eat another 10,000 calories now, which is, now we've got a problem. But, yeah.
All right, we're nearing an hour, so I want to wrap up. Any sort of last minute things you want to talk about with routines, or suggestions you would give people for establishing a morning routine, getting into a workout routine, getting into eating, in a healthy routine, or if you want to refer to them as rules or whatever. What are some parting shots you would give?
Yeah, just get up earlier. Like, seriously, it may suck. You may have like 4 children under 1 year old, and you may be on like 3 hours of sleep, and your life is like burning around you at the moment. But like, the one way to ensure that you get more shit done during the day is to get up earlier, because like everybody falls victim to like, well, I'll just do that shit at night. No, you won't. Like, you're not going to. There's a myriad of reasons you're not going to do the shit that you want to do at nighttime. Get up earlier. Win the morning, and the rest of the day falls in place.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I agree. I mean, it's surprising how much time you actually have, and not just time, but quality time, which I think people forget, especially when, So like, if you wake up at 4 a.m., the average person isn't going to be awake to like 6:30. You've got 2.5, maybe 3 quality hours to relax, to get something done, or just to plan out your day. So I totally agree with what Tanner said. My tip would be to just pick one thing, because if you try and change too many things at once, it's going to become overwhelming, and you're less likely to not do it in the long run, because everyone gets really excited and it's like, yeah, I'm going to exercise 7 times a day, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to intermittent fast, I'm going to carb cycle, and all this other stuff. Is, it becomes overwhelming. So pick one thing that you want to change right now, and it may not even be inherently fitness related. Just one thing, like Tanner said, you may want to wake up early just so you can plan your day and incorporate some meal planning into that. Or, even just meditating, which has profound benefits of its own. Just pick one habit that you want to change or improve on, or add to your day, and just work on that. And then once you've sort of mastered that, then you can start adding other things in. But yeah, the simpler you can keep it, the better it's going to be.
Nick?
So yeah, like, I'm just going to build off Adam's, like pick one thing, and to help figure out what that one thing should be, like, I think people should sit down and prioritize like what is actually important to them. Because I think that's where a lot of people mess up. True. Is the lose sight of their priorities. So I wrote about this in an article recently, and then this is actually an idea I got from Nate Green, but sit down, take a piece of paper, and write down like everything important to you. So like your job, your kids, reading, meditating, list everything, and just take them one by one and choose which one is more important. So meditating versus working out. Working out's more important. Working out versus eating breakfast. Okay, eating breakfast is more important. You just like straight up just take them one by one, and then you just pair them up against each other, figure out which one is the most important. Then once you get that, say maybe it's meditating or something, well, now that's the one thing. So you're like, all right, so that's my most important thing. I'm going to take one rule, like Adam said, one new thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to meditate 10 minutes in the morning. So you'd have to get, before you pick whatever one thing you want to like add to your rule book or add to your daily routine, like you have to prioritize and see what you want that one thing to be catered to.
I love that, and I love that we've all sort of built off of one another, because I was like, oh, I'm going to build off Adam, and then Nick, you said your piece, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to build off that. So we're all building off, but I'm going to basically pull some bricks off the great Roman tower, a.k.a. John Romanello. The first thing, so I was going to say, first thing you should do in the morning is be 100% selfish. First thing you should do in the morning is do something proactive. Do not check social media. Do not check your email. Do not touch your phone. Do not do anything that causes you to be reactive. Something that is positive and proactive for you. So if you want to be better at meditating, meditate. If you want to read more, read should be the first thing. If you want to like work out, then let it be the workout. The first 30 minutes should be 120% all about you, not about anyone else, not about you answering someone else's problem. If you work in the corporate world and you're getting emails at like 4 a.m, leave that fucking phone like somewhere else. Like the first part of the day, Tanner's right. To win the day, it's got to be about you. Make it all about you and do something that's positive for you, because once you start building that positivity for you and start building yourself, then everything else starts to seem a whole lot more capable of you being able to like build upon and take over and conquer. So building off that, I like Nick's. Put your values down, figure out what's important, but don't do anything where you've got to help someone else. You need to be all about you first 30 minutes of the day.
Yeah, that's something I'm trying to get better at as well, especially with social media. Like, I have a really bad habit of like checking my phone first thing. So really trying to get better at that. And one thing I would add to that is just don't beat yourself up. Like, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
So, of course. Yeah, then the more you beat yourself up, the worse it's gonna be. So yeah, don't beat yourself up and just chill the fuck out. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, I've enjoyed chatting about routines, rules, meditation, all the stuff to get ready for the day. So
this is awesome.
Yeah, great episodes. Thank you guys for this Coach's Corner. Everyone get ready. December, we're gonna nerd out. We're gonna geek out 2 days before Rogue One comes out. It's all about Star Wars, baby. Next Coach's Corner. We'll see you guys then.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.